Welcome to Not Silent Podcast. I'm honored to have as a guest Afghanistan's first female fixed wing Air Force pilot. A woman once was told she cannot even drive, but yet she chose to fly. Was it easy? Not at all. She went through hell, facing death threats and ruthless social pressure. But this is not just about breaking walls, it's about courage against fear and resilience against persecution in a country where millions of women and young girls are denied their basic rights. She was awarded as a Woman of Courage by the US Department of State. And this is Niloofar Rahmani. Welcome to my podcast, and I'm really honored to have you here. You have been through a lot. From a country where Taliban are trying to tear down, especially women and girls. And to this day, we are listening and hearing horrible stories. One of those stories is yours as well. Can we start a little bit with your childhood? So you basically, what you remember as a very, very small age, you were in the Pakistan camp.
Thank you so much, Arbana, for having me. I'm excited. And, as your podcast name, Not Silent, I think it's a beautiful name. And if we have a voice that we can use it and be a voice for others that they need it and they can't speak for themselves, I think it matters a lot. And both of us as a female, I know our heart breaks to see what's happening in the other side of the world, and especially in a woman's world, that is so dark and they don't even know what to do about it because they don't even have a voice, they don't have a power, and they don't even, the situation is not even there for them to change it. But yes, I would say, unfortunately, the childhood that I had, kind of similar to what most of the females in Afghanistan are going through. But we all have a different life stories that if we put each and every one stories in a format of a movie, I think it doesn't have an end. It's it is so bad that you don't even know how to end it.
You were very small when you left Afghanistan with your parents, your sister, and your brother, and you went to Pakistan. You stayed for 4 years in camp. So at the time, that was the only home that you knew.
Unfortunately, yes. When I was born, it was a civil war in Afghanistan. So Talibans are fighting Mujahideen. Mujahideen is fighting Taliban. Uh, it was bombs, rocket from one side of the city to another side of the city. And most of the time, until nowadays, when people are asking me about a birth certificate, I tell them I don't have any. I don't even own any birth certificate because I was born at home and my mother never could make it to the hospital. So after that, due to war, and only my father and my mom, my older sister, myself, and my brother, uh, my father had a hard time to take care of all of us in that situation because you couldn't provide for your family when there's a war like that, when you don't know when the rocket is going to hit your home next. And that's when my father decided to take his small family. We migrated through the borders like every other hundreds or millions of other Afghan immigrants that they traveled through the border to get to Pakistan for safety, just for the safety, which wasn't easy. Which there was a robbery. People would lose a lot of things. Not only that, their lives, because the journey was so dangerous to even get to Pakistan through those borders. And the same thing my family went through, like everyone else did. Um, we made it to Pakistan, which I don't remember. I was only 6 months old when my father told me the stories when I was old enough. Sometimes you don't even believe how much a family can sacrifice to just seek for safety and find a safe place to live. Just to live. That's all they were asking for. And that's what my family did.
You were little, we were baby, but for your parents, they lived also in the golden age of Kabul. And your father was an engineer, and your mom's dream was to become a journalist. So for them was hard, knowing now what is happening, that the whole country was tearing apart from Taliban's, and they had to leave. You mentioned from the book that you wrote that you had the same meal for the 4 years.
Sometimes, like, we lived on a tent as a child. You grow up in a tent when you're only 6 months old, and you wake up when the storms hit, when there's a dust blowing all over the camp, when there's no running water, when there's no electricity. But you wake up for the hope of you have a mother, you have a father, and you have a family. And that's how we actually got through that life, which is we are thankful for the same meal we had every day, which was rice or beans or a piece of bread, whatever we could get. We were thankful because we had each other, and we went through it like every other family did. And I would say when God takes something from you, they always replace it with something, which was for us the best parents we had. My mother, her dream was to be a journalist. She still dreams until nowadays that she wanted to be a journalist. That's how much she loved it. And for her, education was so important. She was the top of her class when she went to school. She had a whole freedom she could ask for. She would dress like exactly like European American woman. She was so spoiled. She could have anything she wants. She could speak for herself. She could dress the way she wants. She could choose who wants she be. And just in a blink of eyes, everything is taken away from you. It's almost unbelievable. For me, sometimes I would tell her it was easier because that's how I grew up. That's all I knew was women had to cover themselves. Women shouldn't play what's a male toy to play, or you can't ride a bike because you're a woman. You can jump because you're a woman. You can't play soccer because you're a woman. You have to do housework or play with a doll. That's that was like something norm for me because that's all I knew. That was all I grew up with. But for her, it was difficult because everything was taken away from her, and she didn't know the whole thing was super new for her. And that's the lucky part that I had. I had the mom that she teach us every day. Like we were in a school, she would make us all line up, sit. She would give us a pen, a paper, and she would just write for us. That's your alphabet, and we had to do it. And my mom was not easy. She was a hard mom.
So your mom was teaching you and other kids at the camp.
First, she started teaching me, my sister, and my brother. We were young, and all we could start was from writing alphabet. And I think the news slowly got separated that, this woman is teaching her kids, if you guys like, you can send your kids there. If she can't fit everybody in a tent, but she can put everybody outside. And sometimes you couldn't ask themselves directly because still you didn't know most of those family which one is against education again,
Yeah.
especially women's education. When they showed up, my mom was so happy. She felt like she was a teacher and she was teaching everybody. And I think that was the joy that brought everybody. That if we had nothing, we literally packed our whole life in a backpack and we left. This brought some joy to them.
Your mom was with you all day. Your father was outside the camp trying to make some money and bring you something else, sometimes bringing flowers to your mom. And in the camp, from an engineer back home, he was forced to go and do different jobs. So can you tell me a little bit more about what he was doing at the time where you were at the camp in Pakistan?
All I can tell, he's a very strong man. Sometimes for a human, it's so hard to put your ego aside because your ego is like, wow, screaming at you, like, this is not you. This is not what you did. You can't do this. This is lower than you. When you can silence that ego, I think you win in this life. When you can get rid of that ego, that's when God is actually opening doors for you because He knows you're grateful. And I think that's what my father did. He didn't care about what degree he had, he didn't care about what life he had. All he knew, he had children and a wife that he had to support. And if he wait for the government or for people that help and provide services for them in the camp, his whole life does he didn't know how long he will be there. He had to wake up and just be like a slave, I guess, just be told what to do. This is the limit you can have. That's more than, you can't have more than this. He decided to start getting up early, leave the camp, go look for jobs. He did all kind of jobs. It's just like I can't even understand like how to be able, pay that man back with everything he done for us. But yeah, so finally, with every normal job, he started it with carrying people's, groceries or working at the homes. He finally found a job that they were doing construction jobs. And of course, they didn't trust, like, oh, you're Afghan. I don't know if you can do what we expect you to do. He decided to tell them, I can work for you for free for months, even if you want me for 3 months. You see my job, you see my skill, and then you decide if you want to keep me forever or you pay me a salary. That's what he did. He started getting up early again, go to that work, do construction jobs for that company, and without salary. But he managed to work late at night to still be able to provide after getting done with his construction job. And that was a time when he proved himself that he was a worthy person, and they hired him. And that's when our life changed.
Then he comes one day at the camp and asks you to pack.
Yeah, that was super nice. For sure, that was a great moment because at that moment till then, um, all I knew my life was a tent. All I knew, the family I had, excuse me. Sometimes it's hard when the life is behind you. You cannot believe how much you had to sacrifice. But excuse me.
Take your time. I understand. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, but you have amazing parents and
Thank you. Thank you. So sorry. I tried.
Keep some
thanks.
handy.
Yeah.
Okay. So there was a one day, my dad comes home and he tell my mom to pack, and that memories for me. It's the stories I have heard because I was very young. I still couldn't remember like what every step of stage of life that we had to go through. And when you grow up, you start flipping your books backward and start thinking about it. You almost can't believe like God created a hero in your life and you didn't know that he was there. And that's when my father took us to our new apartment. That was one bedroom apartment, and that felt more like a home because we had a roof on our head. We actually had a running water, we had electricity, and it was it was everything sometimes you feel like your dreams are coming true or something best happened in your life. I think that's when that happened. I felt like finally we have a home. This is ours. We're not sharing it, which was wonderful.
So, but in Pakistan, you will really not treated well as immigrants.
Back then, because everybody, humans are, when they have the opportunity, they have choices. If they want to be kind to each other, help each other, or be mean to each other and use and abuse somebody's weakness just to make themselves happy. And I feel like that was the case. I wouldn't say it was their fault. That's a human being natural response. I would say they thought they belonged there, and we were just a foreigner. And as a child, all we were excited for was just to go to playground and play with my sister and my brother. And we were sharing that playground with another kids there. And the moment one of the childs that threw me off the swing and told me, they're the Afghan, go back to your country, that hit hard. That really hit hard, for sure. And as a child, you don't understand. Like, if it is not my home, then where's my home? You know, where is the home that everybody tells me I should go? And I thought, this is my home. This is my place. Um, but yeah.
And one day your parents decide to go back to Afghanistan. Which year was when you went back from Karachi to Afghanistan?
It was 1999 when we returned back to Afghanistan. That was still Afghanistan under control of the Taliban. That's like a year before the US get to Afghanistan.
You saw a different picture. While you were in Pakistan, your mom was not wearing burqa, obviously. And you went back, and of course, she is forced because there were Taliban rules. You were still young. What this new reality, how it felt for you? Did you know? You asked what is happening? Why one of the sudden you have to be all covered?
Like, for, I would say, if if you tell someone like, "Hey, finally it's time, we're going home," you should be excited. And I felt like I could see that pain in my mom's eyes. I could feel it. Your gut was, telling you it's not something of happiness. We didn't have that, especially seeing the tears in my mom's eyes that she put that burqa on, which she's so against. She never in her life put that thing on, and just feel like she's something so worthless and she has to cover herself and she can't even see through those, blender in her eyes. She can't even see through it. It was, I could tell like she wasn't happy about it. And if you get that feeling from your mom as a child, what can you be excited for? Like, we trusted her enough to know what we are stepping in and what we are expecting.
You saw different things. You there is an incident when, for our viewers and listeners, so women in Afghanistan, not today, but since Taliban were there, so they are not allowed to go out without the men being with them.
Mhm.
Your sister was sick, and your mom had to send her to the hospital, and she was rushing. What happened that day?
My mom, she was basically staying with us at home, and I had only my brother at home. So my sister was so sick for a couple of days, my older sister, and I don't know if she caught something and she started throwing up, and she was feeling very, very bad. My mom, that back then, my dad was working in a farm, so that's most of the Afghan could do because there was no jobs you could actually do beside working on a farm, and that's what my dad did. So he was away from home. And in that situation, my mom couldn't wait too long. So he sent my brother to get my dad to take her. And it would be too late because she was actually really, really sick. So my brother went with my mom and my sister to the hospital. She was in so rush, like you're a mom when your children are sick, you just want to give your life to your children and just to see them healthy. That's what my mom did. And she rushed to the hospital without even thinking. All she put is her burqa on and just get out of the house. She forgot to put her socks on. So she had a flip flop on, which shows her skin. And she's getting close to the door that there's a Taliban beating her, that she doesn't have a socks or her feet are not covered. So she's literally showing skin, and it attracts. And I don't understand it, but poor thing got beat up so bad that she came home. The moment she came home, she threw that bag off of her head and she started screaming, and that's all I could remember. Like, she screamed and her feet were bleeding, and all we would asking, like, what's wrong, mom, what happened? And of course she get beat up because she didn't cover her legs or her feet.
situations start getting even worse. One of your neighbor got killed, and you saw basically a dead person killed by Talibans. Why he was killed?
Especially nowadays, we are talking right now, but we don't know how many girls, how many women are struggling right now in Afghanistan. Everybody closed that chapter totally. Like nobody even know what women are going through, even nowadays. That the world has gone so far that women's rights, women education, women's equality shouldn't be even a subject. But unfortunately, in Afghanistan, even to nowadays, women can't even raise their voice because if they laugh loud, if they sing loud, a woman to woman, they shouldn't hear each other. To the point they have to be they tell them like they have one eyes, it's one eyes is enough for them to see, they have to cover the other eyes. And families are like selling their children for money. They're selling their daughters to 65 years old man and 9 years old woman for money just to have their other children survive. And the world is quiet, and I don't know where the humanity is, where the humankind are, where the hearts are gone, where I don't even understand if people don't want to be awakened or they just want to accept this reality and they think it's okay. I don't have that answer.
And you saw
And
this firsthand.
and I saw that firsthand myself. So I had a neighbor, and they had two daughters. One daughters were older, probably around 12 or 13 years old. And someone reported that this family has two young daughters. And the Taliban truck shows up. And in Afghanistan, you have all the houses are gated, so you can't see through their yard. But there's doors that, which is cracks, right? There's cracks and everything. You can actually look outside through the cracks of the door, and under the doors are open, basically. So we hear this screaming and yelling and crying. And my brother opened the door, so he's a man, of course he doesn't get beat up if he be outside, whatever. So my brother opened the door and he goes out. The Taliban shows up. They're taking that young girl from his family, and the father rejected it, and they shot his father in front of them, and they took the girl. This is a nightmare that I can't even, like you have a nightmare and you wake up and you don't believe that's the reality, even though that's the reality you have lived and seen. You try to, dig it somewhere far so you can remember it, but it's hard because nothing has changed, especially until now. The same things are happening, same thing. We heard the stories, the girls would throw themselves off of the buildings just to not be forced to marriages as a young age. And it's not even that, it's just being sold as a slave. That's the painful part, that they are being sold to men like same age as their grandfathers. And while the world is quiet and the world don't even speak up against it, and they even support it. They definitely support those kind of people, that they provide, and they provide financial help to them, versus these evils. That's what they do to another humankind.
In 2001, Americans came to Afghanistan. For few Afghan people, they were seen and considered as an invasion, American invasion. But for you personally, you've seen them as the saviors. How did it feel to see their airplanes flying above your sky?
It's as you said, we as a woman, we saw it differently, because all we knew was a darkness that was covering the whole city over the head of a woman in that country. And we don't even remember a light that even, crossed from somewhere, because every day there was a darkness. You woke up to a darkness, you would sleep in a darkness with no future, and you wouldn't, if you tried to have a hope, you couldn't even have a hope, because you knew who had the control. And even if your family stand against it, they will get killed. They can't change it for you, even though you know they are there for you. And when that invasion happened, honestly, I'm sure so many girls in Afghanistan are agree with me. We didn't see it that way. We found hope. We found hope that hopefully this will bring changes. So these evils are getting out, and at least there's a life for us after that. And I mean, it was total war. There was bombs dropping. There was, rockets hitting everywhere, and the whole city was totally, a war zone, and you couldn't even leave your home. But we knew after, how it is when there's a thunderstorm, right? That storm hits so hard, it's like pouring, there's lightning, there's so much. And then once it cleared, it's a calm day. That's exactly what happened. And with the presence of the other countries and NATO's and Afghanistan, the life changed for us as a woman. The schools start opening, and women start having voices, going to work in the
They
society,
were
be
not wearing
providers.
burqa, right, anymore. They were not
um
forced to, but they were just
so
had scarves.
at first, the first years, that's like still, it's still the Kabul wasn't empty of the Taliban. There was still, they were hiding somewheres. First year, second year, third year, for at least 4 or 5 years, there was still a lot of people wearing burqa. A lot of them, you could see in the city, but over time, it changed a lot. It really, really changed, even to the point that women became a huge part of the society. They were part of the parliament. There was so many colleges that women, like, you could walk in the city, you would see more women than men. That's all I can tell.
So that's why you've mentioned in your books you felt that the freedom came
Mm-hmm.
with Americans. When was the first time you saw airplane?
Okay, it depends. So I saw the plane, the A-10s. That's my favorite plane. That's why. When they were flying over Kabul, and we had a little balconies that I could just lay down. I would see them fly over back and forth, and they were so loud. I could hear their sound, but I couldn't catch them. My eyes couldn't find them. I would be I was so amazed just looking at it, and the sound that they would make is, I can't describe it.
When did you decide to become a pilot?
Um, well, for me, as I mentioned that so many times, when I speak about my journey to become a pilot, it hasn't come like I have been in the air shows or I have been around a plane. No, never. First time I ever been in a plane, first time I ever even stepped in a plane was when I was actually going to do my pilot training. Never been on a plane as a passenger and never been around a plane at all. So for me, the feeling of being a pilot was when we were at the camp and I was a child, and like, my brother would go play soccer with other young boys, and me and my sister were like told not to, not from my own family, from this, how the other people in the camp would judge us as a woman, that we are playing soccer because we're a woman. We can't do that, or you can't laugh loud, you're a woman, or you can't speak loud because you're a woman. And sometimes when I would look up and I would see a bird flying, as a human, I always got that feeling of, what if I was a bird? I could just fly away and be free. Just walk away or fly away from all these violence. That's how I felt. Just having a wing, just fly away from all of this violence and run away from it. That's when I will find my freedom. And that was the feeling I always had. I never ever, as a young girl, thought about even being a pilot, or always thought that was a genius's job. You have to be a genius to be able to fly a plane. That's all I thought. I never thought a girl that barely could go to school, wasn't allowed to go to school, didn't have a voice. How could I even dream to be a pilot?
You were There was your TV on in your apartment when you heard the announcement that Americans were opening also the US Army for pilots too, for girls and boys. So both of them to be able to apply to become pilots. So you heard this news on TV.
So it was 2009, when that's the time when we were able to go to school. When the school opened up after 2001, when the US invaded Afghanistan, the schools started opening. So every girls in Afghanistan, they had to go through a general test to be able to test their education level, if they even could write or read or something. That's what we all had to do. So we all that, and then me and my sister, we started from the sixth grade because the background we had was from my mom. And in 2009, I was about to graduate from high school. I was on a 12th grade, and I was about to graduate. So I didn't know what I'm going to do in my life. I didn't know, you know, where I'm going to go, what will my future will hold. And at that moment, like, I had a feeling because my dad would tell me the stories of how bad he wanted to be a pilot. And in Afghanistan, you had to have connection. You had to know somebody in the high level in the government to be able to get that spot of being a pilot. For him, it wasn't even, a dream that he could make it happen. So that dream died in him, and every time he would talk about it to us, it would it would hurt my heart. Like, why? He was a very, very, very talented man. He was very educated, and I knew he would have been a best pilot if he had the opportunity. At the same time, I did not want it to just, be a doctor because the society want me to be a doctor because that's the only thing I can be, and a female doctor, or be a nurse or be a teacher. That's okay for a woman in those society, that if you want to be a doctor, a teacher, or, a nurse. Anything other than those three jobs that I mentioned, it's not okay for a woman. And all of us have this life once. This life is given to us once. And it's our choice that how we want to use it. And, past is past. Past is gone. You can't change the past. The only moment we have is right now. That if you live this moment right now and you choose what you want to do for your future, that is actually, it builds your future. Everything else tomorrow is, we can leave the anxiety, we can leave the stress for tomorrow, because our brain is so used to making a movie, which is not true. You are worried about future, what's going to happen. You don't know what your future will be. These are all anxiety of tomorrow, because that's something we don't know. None of us know what happens tomorrow. We don't know what happens 5 hours from now. But the moment you can live is right now. This is the actual moment in life that we can experience. And I would say that moment when I heard the announcement on the TV. I was playing chess with my brother. We were sitting on a table, and our TV was like right there. And when they announced the military that a woman can sign up to join the armed forces and they can be a pilot, and that moment, I'm glad I didn't throw the whole thing off the table. I screamed, I got up, I was trying to get my mom's attention. My dad was not home. I was like, Mom, look what happens. Like, this is actually a path that I can take. So it would lead me to be a pilot. And of course, moms are always worried. They're nervous. She knew
Society.
yeah, what I will get
Yeah.
into. And they just thought, okay, whatever. They just, took it as a joke, kind of like, okay, okay, this will happen. But no. So my dad come home, and I was trying to tell him, like, Dad, in Afghanistan, we do not have a civilian aviation school. There's absolutely no civilian aviation school in Afghanistan. The only way you want to be a pilot is if you join the military, or if you can afford go overseas, which that wasn't a choice for me. And the stress of, my mom had, that what's going to happen to her, you will get killed, you're not going to survive, you just daydreaming. And she's a mom, I get it, I love her to death, I get it. But my dad saw a bigger picture on that, that no matter, it's like, you have a bird, right? You keep a bird in a cage and you let a bird to fly away, right? And that bird in a cage, if you keep it too long in that cage, you take it out, that poor little bird forget how to fly.
Yeah.
And if you let a bird to fly, and if they love you enough, they always come back. And You know, it's that's how I would love to see a life too, that you can't keep a human in a cage forever, that they will survive or they will live. And I'm so glad when I explained it to my dad that I would never disappoint you. I would do my best, and somebody has to start it. If I sit home and do nothing and wait for someone else to do it, no one else is going to do it, because someone else would think the same way as I do, that, oh, someone else will do it. And the moment my dad agreed, I signed up. I went with my brother to a recruiting office. That was the moment I will never forget. There was a lines of hundreds and hundreds of men, and here's me and my brother. So my poor brother gets a bad look, like, which kind of a man you are? You're supporting your sister to come here and sign up to be in the military. They view it as, if you're in the military, you are not a good in from a good family, or you're not a good girl that you are trying to do this, which I never understood. I never understood it. I am here to serve my country the same level as you are doing. What's the shame of me wearing the uniform or you wearing the uniform? Are you ashamed? If you are, if it is something bad, so tell me that I don't do it. If you are ashamed that you're doing something wrong. And yeah, my brother got really bad luck. So I'm so proud of him. I have only one brother. He always been supportive, for sure. He always been supportive. He always stood by me when I needed him. And I'm so thankful for him. We walk in there, and so after the recruitment, every process, we put in names, and I go to this four-star general's office, because as a woman, we needed to be seen who is here, versus the men would just sign up and leave and show up the day that they had to be transferred to the camp. And I walk into his office. He's a big fat man sitting in his table,
He's
and
Afghan, right? Yeah.
yes, has a cartoon on the TV, drinking tea. And the first question he's asking me, my daughter, you don't have anyone to support you? And I was so innocent. I didn't understand what he was telling me. Like, if I was from a street, I would do this job. Otherwise, if I had somebody to support me, I would have not been here. And my response to him was, I don't know where that came from, was, I have a parent. I came here with my brother. I am here to serve my country and wear this uniform. And I told him, are you ashamed of having this uniform on? He said nothing. So I left.
You had that courage since very early age to face this pressure coming from all. But at the meantime, we're talking about this society, male dominance. But you have two men in your life at
Hmm.
the time that supported you, your father and your brother. You you managed. First of all, before you were accepted, you had to do the medical examination, and they said that you have heart problems.
Hmm. Absolutely. So after the recruitment, I went through the OCS, which is the officer school. I had to graduate first. So I graduated as a first lieutenant. And then after that, we got selected to which branches of the military we will go or work for. And luckily, I was selected to the Air Force. And my first choice was to be a pilot. And it was 20 of us, 20 girls that we signed up. So there was a bus taking us to the Air Force, and it was during the lunchtime. So during the lunchtime, the whole GFAC, this is like where everybody eat lunch, and it was full. It was absolutely full. And we made it on a bad time. Like, everybody was waiting there to, we get out, and all the eyes were on us. The first time they ever saw 20 girls in uniform, and they wanted us to go eat. So we were unaware of what we were walking into. We go there, and everybody is turning their head. They are looking at us like we are alien, came from somewhere else. Like, they never seen such a thing. And we just walked in. We just walked, ignored them. We could hear them whispering words, saying things, and all we could do is just not listen to them and ignore whatever they were saying. So after that, we walked into this medical office because before they do anything, we had to prove that medically we are fit. And we go into these medical examination one by one. Every man comes out, they're okay, they got stamped that they're good to go. So it's 20 of us. We walk in there and one comes out, she's short. One's come out, she has a colorblind problem. The other one walk in that she is not tall enough or her legs are short. And here's my moment that my heart is beating so fast because I see everybody walking out with a negative, result, like positive results of they're sick. And I was very nervous. I didn't know what I'm walking into. And I go in, I pass all of these other issues that the other girls had. Now I have a heart problem, which is the first time in my life I heard it. And I never heard I had a heart problem before. So basically, all the girls, minus one girl, everybody is sick, just one girl is fine.
But
And
all the boys, they
all
were
the
not.
boys, they were all good enough. They never even had one problem. And so that's basically no. So that's your no. Then you got rejected. You couldn't do anything about it. So you're sick, you're not medically fit, you cannot be pilot. That's it.
And the doctor is Afghan.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it was a four-star general again in charge of the medical in Air Force that he had to stamp everybody that you're good to go or you're not. His stamp proves that you are done. You cannot continue. And my heart was so broke that I went through everything, training, all this, qualification to get where I am. And I do not want to walk out of here just because he told me I'm sick. And I know I'm not sick. Back then, we were in they call it Celtic. So it was like a English language school for us that before starting pilot training, we would spend days and nights there in that school speaking English only.
Because you
Uh,
didn't know English at the
no,
time.
I did not knew English at all. I didn't even know a word. So for pilot training, the most important thing for us was English, that we had to speak English to be able to continue pilot training. And the process was we had to live among American. We had to speak with them all the time. We had to watch a movie with them all the time. We had to live in the same compound with them at the same time. That's how we could learn English fast because it was a very fast process. And so, in charge of that school, it was a lieutenant colonel that I will never forget him.
You are diagnosed by an Afghan doctor that you have heart problems, but you didn't accept that. So you went back to this American officer to complain and tell him that they are trying to prevent you just because you're a woman to become a pilot.
Yeah, so I promised myself I would not take no for an answer. I mean, if I knew they were right, I would accept it because you cannot be sick, especially a heart problem in aviation is not a joke. Like you have to be medically really fit to be able to fly. And because that was the first time I have ever heard it that I have a heart problem, and I knew all these men here do not want us here because of the way they looked at us, the way they talked to us, the way you felt it that you were not accepted here. And I knew that was for a reason, that not one girl is medically fit. And among 20 of us, just one person is okay and everyone else is sick. That's the moment of doubt for me. And that's when I reached out to the colonel, and he was amazing. He took me to the French hospital, an American side of the base. We did the whole examination, and the examination was all okay. There was nothing that proved that I had a heart problem. So the next day, he took the result with me. We went to the doctor office, and he brought up the situation to him that we understood you guys told her that she has a heart problem. But we did, on our side, we just wanted to make sure, we wanted to double check that everything is okay, just to confirm and make her happy that she heard it right. So we did another examination, and our examination showed everything is fine. And
What was
all
the reaction of the Afghan
so
then?
so all of a sudden he jumped off of his chair like, "Oh, I don't understand. Maybe she took some type of medication. It showed in the X-rays or whatever." So he built up lies that you could tell, like, "Wow, you changed so fast. When I told you, can we do it one more time?" And maybe I moved, or maybe something wasn't right. You totally told me, no, it is what it is. And now all of a sudden you're trying to prove you're a good guy. You didn't purposely do that. And now it's, I have maybe took a medication or something. I'm so glad I did that. That's the point. That's why we are doing what we are doing, right? Silence is sometimes an answer. Silence sometimes is not an answer. And you have to find that courage within yourself, because not everybody, none of us are born with courage. None of us are. The day that we step in this world, we don't have it, but we have to slowly build it ourselves. That's like a best accessory, I would say, for men and a woman they can wear, is their confidence and believe on themselves. And because nobody else would ever believe on you or encourage you to do something right. It's always, even if they love you enough, their word of, oh, you might get hurt, that kind of bring you down or shatter you. Like, maybe they're right. So yeah, believe on yourself and that courage.
In an environment where you were standing for yourself and at that young age being challenged by male dominance world, it takes a lot of strength to stand up for yourself. The fact that you didn't accept doctor's answer and going back to this American lieutenant and fighting for yourself, it tells a lot where you are today. You became a pilot with a lot of struggling within the army from your own people, from Afghan people. There is a moment when, while I was reading a book, when you were flying with your co-pilot, you had to go and carry dead bodies, and someone at the radio asked you to go back. What did you do at that moment?
Well, there was so many of those scenarios. So when I actually got my wing in 2013 and starting like officially flying all over Afghanistan, we were flying all over Afghanistan just to provide support for Afghan National Army, ammunition, medically, HR mission, which is the human remain bodies after the wars, to bring them to their families. So when I become a pilot, and only first female pilot, they put a regulation of a woman cannot carry a dead body, because in their eyes, women are not pure enough to be in charge or in the plane or in the environment that there's a dead body. It will be disrespect for them, which nowhere in the world that's something that's written in any regulation. And as a woman, I wasn't allowed to do any of those missions just because I was a woman. And as far as I understand, if I'm not touching the dead body, if I'm not standing over the body, then what's the point? I do my job like every other coworker were doing their jobs. And that day was so funny that there was all the birds, all of our planes, they were flying somewhere in the country, and it was just one plane. So first, we were en route to just go to Bastion, which is Helmand province, which is a very dangerous area. Even back in 2015, 16, that place was not safe. And we're flying there. We were supposed to just bring a passenger, not the body. And I think the something changed. They wanted the body to be carried first, and we are halfway. We are getting call from our squadron commander that he's telling me to return back to the base, because the mission that we are doing is not passenger anymore. It's the body that we had to bring. And for a moment that hit me so bad. Like, this is a weakness that they're using against me. And they're telling me because I am a woman, that's why I cannot do that mission. And we were way far out still. That was breaking my heart, that the way he wanted us just to turn around, not do that mission, which I wanted to do, because that had to be changed. And if I didn't say anything about it, if I was quiet, that regulation would have lasted for other
Yeah.
women, that they would step in that, place. And I just turned it down. I like not heard him. I pretended not heard him. And I signed up for that. Like, if I feel like something doesn't sound right to myself, if it doesn't sound feel right, why would I have to follow it? And if I get fired for that, then it's on me. So nobody else take that responsibility. And I knew the other pilot was very nervous, right? Like, he didn't want to take the body, the nurses and the doctors, they were like denying to put the body on the plane, just because they knew it was me and I couldn't do it. It should be two male pilot. And I knew the other pilots were worried. The other pilot was so nervous, like, oh, I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to lose my wing. And I have told him, like, all the responsibility is on me. I would not be near the body. You guys go load it. You guys do everything you're supposed to do. I would just sit in my seat and I would not move. So thank God he agreed, and we left. We got into fly back to Kabul, and I see there's an officer waiting for me at the flight line, that I have to be escorted back to our squadron commander's office. And when he told me that you knew you were not supposed to do that mission, and it's like, that had to be done. I did not disrespected anybody, and if you just want to take my wing just because what I did felt right, you can do it. He didn't say a thing. He did not say anything to me, and I walked out of the office without anybody getting in trouble. So sometimes you have
Yes.
to stand for what's right. Sometimes you have to take a step that it's just created by someone that you don't agree with it. And I felt like the same in that moment. It needed to be changed.
But there were some moments which you will went through very tough situation when you did the solo flight. There was like a ceremony called Duncan ceremony.
Mhm.
So, what happened that day? What is this ceremony about, and what
So
happened?
in aviation, when you do your training and you get to a certain level that you have to fly by yourself. So there's no instructor by you, it's you and the plane only. And when I did my solo flight, so of course I was the only female uh, among my whole class. There was no other female, and you know how it is when you're the only one, every eyes is on you. Everybody's waiting for your failure. Everybody's waiting for you to fail. Everybody's just, you know, it's like everybody's just waiting for that moment. And I felt like that moment was my moment to shine or fail. Because that was when our squadron commander, the base commander, everybody was waiting that, okay, Americans are training Afghan women. They want to bring freedom to this country. They want to have a woman to do a men job. Let's see if they are worthy enough to be in a male dominated society and do men things. And so that day was so big for me. And I remember I couldn't sleep. I was so excited. I didn't care what people were thinking. I didn't care what they were waiting for me to fail, because I knew the answer. None of them were there to be happy for me. And all I could do is put the hat of courage on and believe in myself and do it. So when I did my solo, honestly, I felt so comfortable, more than having an instructor with me, because that was like so calm. There was nobody talking behind my ears, like nobody was like screaming, and it was just so calm. And the moment the plane lifted off the ground, I remember I felt so calm. I almost felt like someone else is here with me. So the solo went great. I was so proud of myself, especially for a woman that I was always told I can't even drive a car because I was a woman. Now I'm flying a plane.
So,
So I was very young and I was so excited. And So the solo went great. After you successfully pass your solo, then the process is they throw you in a pool of water and with your uniform and everything. So I was like everyone else. Why the rules and laws had to change for me because I was a woman? There was no Afghan woman around, so there was two American women. They were in uniform. Sorry, there was one American woman, one British. They were both my friends, and they were amazing ladies. And they actually hugged me, threw me in a pool of water. So it was just a happiness moment for people that loved me and wanted me to succeed. But for so many people, not really. They abused of that situation. They took it pictures and a different angles that they
There
were.
were other male pilot Afghan that they were present there,
Mhm.
and they took a photo of you while they were putting in the water, right?
Right. So there was all the pilots, Afghans, the whole squadron, the interpreters. There was a lot of interpreters too. So God knows who did that, but they took a lot of pictures and posted on the social media. In Afghanistan back then, social media, especially Facebook, played a big role. Facebook was CNN of Kabul. Like that's how bad it was. And you know how it is when people see something, they believe what they see. They don't want to believe what the reality is. And no matter how much they want to believe, they still don't want because they're too religious and what they only think is right, they believe.
What were they saying on Facebook?
So the pictures were taken the way like those were two American men, not a woman, they were men's, that they hugged this Muslim woman and they are infidels. They are they are again. This is like no 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 to their religion. They are throwing in her water. They are claiming she is a pilot. She is not a pilot. She is just there for something else, and so many negative. And for me, like I never read comments. I never ever ever do because you can't quiet people. People say what they want to say. But sometimes when you're doing something that you're so proud of it, which is that's what I was doing. I was so proud of what I was doing because I knew I was there for a good fate. And explaining this to the society that none of them know what a solo is, none of them know what the rules and the costume is, that after a pilot do a solo flight, they throw them in the water. God, bring somebody that they believe to
They were,
explain it to them.
I think they didn't really want to understand because the whole point is you to be attacked as a Muslim
Exactly.
woman
Yeah.
being among in the army. But this is when your family start getting threats and reaction from their own family, from their own cousin. Your sister, her husband left her and took her son just because you became a pilot.
Unfortunately, after when I was in training, so I was not in a media, my pictures were nowhere. I was just doing my job and my training, and I just worked so hard to do it and be successful. I was doing, I was among a class that I was the only female, and none of my classmates were my friend. If like they know it. None of them. I felt so lonely. I always felt left alone. I had to do everything by myself. They didn't even talk to me. They would always whisper. They would always I don't know. I never felt like they were there with me. They knew the training was hard enough. They knew the training was not easy. Plus the stress they would put on me that I was a woman and I always felt like why they don't even treat me right? Like what do I do wrong? Just because I'm here? Because I'm a woman? I don't do anything wrong. I have the same uniform on as they had. But I never got that feeling of they love me or they really care. I was their equal. I was there to do the same thing they were doing. And the solo picture, most of the people in the society, including my own relative, thought that she is being baptized and she is not Muslim anymore.
Because you were put on the water.
Right. And no matter how much I would explain, go Google or go search. That's a custom. When you fly by yourself, they do it. Doesn't mean because they put me in a pool of water, you think I was baptized. And unfortunately, that picture in social media, it was the beginning of the first, I mean, threat in our life. And back then, my sister was married, and unfortunately, when her husband and her law's family saw that picture, they start making her life miserable, that we are not from a good family. Look at your sister. She's not Muslim anymore. Your father's not a good man. And basically throw her out of the house, took her 1-year-old baby. And until now, she doesn't even know how her son looked like. They totally took her son from her, um, just for her stupid beliefs that they have is right and what a woman should do. And if a woman step out of her, what the society told her to do, then she's a bad woman or she doesn't deserve to be respected.
Your brother was also attacked because of you becoming a pilot.
Uh, we went through a hell of 7 years, I would say. I would say my happy moment was when I was in training. The only pain and struggle I had was from my classmate, my male classmate, that they absolutely treated me like a trash. Like I was not belong there. I should have not been there. And I would say that was the only thing. And all I could do is prove them wrong. All I could do is graduate because they knew they're doing the same thing. It's not easy. The stress they put on me, it makes me stronger to prove them wrong. Because if I quit, they wouldn't say it was hard or we put her through that she quit. They would say she was a woman. Of course, she can't continue. Of course, she can't handle it. So they would put it back on me being a woman. So I never let that happen. So no matter what I went through in training, I toughen up, and that made me even stronger to fight for what I'm there actually. And I would say after I graduated after my solo, it was all for me to be there to prove myself that this can be done in a male society. This can be proven that it can be done as a woman. But me and my family went through a lot.
And we were talking about the time where there were no Talibans in the power.
Mm.
And still, we were having that mindset of repressing women, threatening. And you are an example, you're in your family that you had to move from one side to Kabul to the other side, from one home to another home, and from one country to another country because of the threats you were receiving from your own family and cousin.
Unfortunately, Taliban's are one side of this story, right? The people in the society is totally another side of the society. These are people that you share in the same neighborhood with. They are the same people you actually walk around in the society. In their faces, it's not written if they hate you or not. But what they believe, through the years, it passed on to their son. From their son, it passed on to their son. So everybody grows up during those dark times. They all have that mentality of woman places in the house. Woman needs to be told what a man tells them to do or their fathers tell them to do. When she's young, her father has to choose for her. When she's married, her husband has to speak and choose for herself. So she's basically born a slave and will die like a slave. So you can't change it. For those men that I was actually with, and I chose just to wear the uniform, fly a plane. That's all I did. Didn't mean I was from a bad family. Didn't mean I didn't have anybody to support me. I was there just to be a voice for other women that they can wear the uniform. They can do anything they want. No religion to stop them. No religion. But unfortunately, the mentality that the men had in the country, it's not like the Taliban's are the only closed minded and this is what the Taliban do. Unfortunately, I could not believe these people thought the same as the Taliban. That I was, they would think like the way they treat their sisters and their wife, they thought they can treat me the same way. If they told me I shouldn't be sitting here because there's other men here, I should have listened to them. And if I spoke up against it, then I deserve to be treated the way they treated me.
They were harassing your family Were they receiving death threats?
Unfortunately, yes. So it started with my immediate family because, in Afghanistan, we have such a thing as an honor kill. If one member of a family did something wrong, then the entire family deserved to be killed, even if it's a child, because they brought shame to that family. And in this case, my father had to be hurt because he allowed me to do that. He went against the religion that I had to do this job, which nowhere in the religion it does mention that women are banned from serving in the military or wearing uniform. Nowhere in the religion say that. And for them just to hurt any member of my family, that was an honor for them. So it started from my immediate family that they thought we brought shame to the entire family, and either me, my father, my brother, my sister, my mom, either one of us get killed so they can complete their honor kill. And then it went to the society that I couldn't even walk in the city without somebody say, "Oh, look, that's her." And I couldn't even believe that I was denying it. No, that's not me. You're mistaken. Maybe I look like her. Like that's how bad it felt. And it's funny that I would always share that like the moment that I felt free was actually when I was on a plane flying over Afghanistan, and that was the moment I was myself. I was the one the version of myself that I wanted to be, not the version of myself the society wanted me to be. Because when I was on the ground, I was that version of myself that the society wanted me to be, covered in burqa. The society wanted me to be silent. Society wanted me to not show my face. Uh, I had to be escorted to the work back and forward. Get out of the house. I would say goodbye to my mom. She would be in tear because she didn't know if I would come back that day or not. And the moment I would get to the base, I would change to my uniform and I would just get in my plane. Honestly, that's was more like me. That's the one I actually wanted to be.
You were going to work with your brother because you could not walk on the street by yourself, and you were wearing just a headscarf, right?
So it changed. At the beginning, it was easier. I would just put a scarf on or a civilian clothes, sit in the back of my brother's car and go to work. The same for my father when my brother was busy. And then when the threats start getting serious, when I keep receiving this threat calls, we getting this threats from our family, it got serious, and I started bringing this to the attention of people in charge, like in the Air Force, to our general. And I told them, this is what I'm actually dealing with. I don't want to quit. I want safety for my family, and I want myself to be safe to get to my job. That's all I requested from them. And unfortunately, they never ever provided me any security. They pretended it was out of their control, and they never supported me. I was in their office almost every day begging for help of having a type of security. Something like somebody to just drive me to work and back and forth because this is not my family's job.
Yeah.
And they denied it, and they totally never ever made it happen. So my brother was the one actually bringing me back and forth. First, it was fine. And then it got to the moment like I had to cover my face, even sitting in the back of the
Not to be
car,
recognized.
not to be recognized. And when I would get to the base, I would go to my room, I change in my uniform, and then start my day.
While you were going through hell back home, somewhere else here in the United States, you were nominated for the International Woman of Courage Award.
Captain Niloofar Rahmani was only 18 years old when the Afghan Air Force began recruiting women for pilot training. Afghanis and people all around the world swelled with pride at her accomplishments. But many, including the Taliban and some members of her own extended family, were incensed.
This was in 2015 when I had an honor to meet you. We both received this award. I remember to this day. We have the first Afghan pilot here, and she was like only 23 years old at the time. We became friends, and I've heard stories. I've heard you were sharing, but not as much as when I start reading your book. into details and finding out the hell that you've been living, you and your family. You came here, you received this award from US Department of State. We were honored to go to the White House and meet with the First Lady. And we all thought that, yes, we are honored and we were honored, but what is going to happen when you go back home?
Mhm.
So, what happened when you went back after you received this award at the United States?
Well, that was definitely a moment of joy, I'm sure, for everybody, because that's actually when we felt we were doing something right, right? I'm sure I felt the same thing
Yeah.
for you. That's the moment, the first time ever I ever felt that I was actually doing something wrong, because everybody against me in my own country telling me I was doing something wrong. That's why I had to be treated the way I was treated. So it was definitely a moment that brought more courage to me, brought made me to do more, made me to not stay quiet no more, even if it takes one person's life to change something. I made that promise to myself to do it. So when I went home, I was expecting that at least this would bring a little changes to the society. Because when I came to the United States, people would ask me like, does Afghanistan has an air force? I would start laughing like, wow, yes, we do have an air force. This is what we have. And I thought maybe this is a recognition to the world, and this is something positive for the country, and they should be greeted with an open heart. But unfortunately, I came back. Nobody even said a congratulation. I walk into a squadron. Nobody even say hello to me. And it was so weird. It was so weird. I was just like, felt like a shadow covered me all over again. Like, what happened? Never, not even one congratulation from someone. And to be honest, there was a couple pilot that I would always remember them, and I wish them happiness and best for the rest of their life and nothing more. They were older generation. They were older pilots from the times that they knew how to treat women. They were the ones that
From the golden age of
golden
Kabul,
age
that
of
they knew
Kabul.
that, yeah.
During this golden time of Afghanistan, those men were golden, like my father. Uh, there was a moment like when we were scheduled, who goes fly with who. Most of the pilot would pick up their names from my name because they didn't want to fly with me. So I would walk in, I would come in earlier from everyone else to just go change because I was traveling with my civilian clothes. I would go to my office. Before I go to my office, I would check the board to see my name, who I'm flying with, or where are we going. And then by the time I walk out of my office, I come to the board name is empty. There's nobody beside me, so I barely have no one else to fly with. They would remove their names to not fly with me. And this one pilot always been there. He's like, don't worry. I would love to always fly with you. He would put his name. If anything, he flew, he would be willing to go back with me to fly because of what happened. He even put my name, my picture in his wall screen just to show his daughter, like, hey, look, I work with her. Maybe you grow up, do same thing. So there was a great men. Like I can't say all of them, but I'm so thankful for those men that made me feel welcome and made me feel belonged there.
While you were here, so we remember we were 10 of us that received this award, but after we received the award, each of us went to different state
Mhm.
based on our background. I was sent to Chicago because as a journalist to visit newspapers. Where you were sent and what was your experience with Blue Angels?
God, that was a surprise for me. So I didn't know that's happening. And my dream always was to be a fighter pilot and fly, these fast jet because I was so impressed with A-10s flying over Kabul when I was a child. When, like just looking at them, I was just impressed with the sound of them, the way they looked, and always wanted to fly one of those. But unfortunately, when I got into the Air Force, our Air Force was starting from zero when the Russian left, when the America took over. So they basically destroyed all the jets we have. We had MiG 29s, we had all these cool fighter jets. and they all got destroyed after that war. So our Air Force started like from zero basically, and we had no fighter pilot and no fighter jets in Afghanistan back then. So that was a dream for me to fly a fighter and just fly them. That's all I wanted. And that moment when I was told that the Blue Angels was gonna give me a ride in their jets, God, I was so excited. I was so happy. The day we show up there, they gave me their uniform to wear, and they were trying to tell me you don't wear G suit because most of the time, like when you fly those jets, you wear G suits just because of the amount of G's that they pull. And they say we don't wear G suits. So you just not gonna wear either. For me, that I never been in a fighter jet, I never pulled any G's. I did not know what I'm getting into. So I was just so happy to be there. And we wrapped up. We got all ready to go, and I remember like right after takeoff, the afterburner hit, and we pulled like the pilot told me it was like around 7 Gs. Wow, that was a moment like I never can forget. It was the best moment for me, and it was amazing. All I can say, I just never had enough, and the moment like it was over, I just wanted to go back.
With all this happiness, you went back home and you've had some terrifying moments when some of your cousins coming to your apartment, trying to get in and threaten your family, and then you had to leave. And what happened after you went back?
Unfortunately, we've been through those threats before. In 2013, we totally left the country. We had to go to India for 3 months. That's in 2013, when we start getting the first threats and our immediate family. And then the Taliban actually put a letter stamped under our door that we warned you before, but you're not listening. You have to continue to work with infidels, and you know what the outcome is. That moment,
So Taliban
mm-hmm,
sent you an official letter
mm-hmm,
stamped to your door,
mm-hmm.
basically threatening you.
Not only threatening me, threatening my own entire family. Because in Afghanistan, if you're a woman, you don't just live by yourself. You live with your family
What were they
until
asking from you? What they
um,
were saying in the letter?
that I did not listen to them with all the warnings they gave me ahead of time. So this is the last warning they sent me, that they know where my home is, where my family lives, and they know everything actually. This is official. And what else we could do? Like we were 7 members of the family in one home, and we find that letter under our door. So basically they know where I live. They are like probably a couple of steps away from where I am right now. And I took that letter. I went to the Air Force the same day with my dad. I told them, this is the threat letter I received. Here it is. You can read it. And they basically just look at it, told me, my daughter, I did not tell you to be here. I never forced you to be here. You can leave right now with your father. My father just looked at me, is like, the damage is already made. Do you think if she just leave right now, it's going to change our
Reality?
situation? It's not going to change. It's going to even be worse because it's already done. All we are asking is just a support, a protection, because I can't even stay in that home. So the same day we left the home, we went to my grandma's, and then we start figuring out what to do with our life. The Air Force actually told me to go figure it out yourself. I didn't tell you to be here, and we can't do anything basically for you. And the other doors were so shut on us, we didn't even ask help from our own family members. And we couldn't go to Pakistan, we couldn't go to Iran. The only place I could go to, it was India. So me and my family, we went to India for 3 months on a tourist visa. So we basically stayed there. We couldn't work because we were on a tourist visa. It was it was not fun. It wasn't good. So the same time, I was worried about my job. What's gonna happen? I couldn't tell anybody where I am because I couldn't trust anybody. I didn't know who's gonna sell me out. I didn't know who's gonna say where I am. So yeah, we took it for 3 months.
you were selected then to be trained by the U.S. Air Force to come to United States for the second time. What was the train about, and how were you selected?
So in 2015, after I came back from US after receiving the award, so I went back home and I started flying again. I started ignoring the threats. I started ignoring the how many times you basically can pack your life in a bag and move from one home to another home, from one place to another place. And the city I lived, it's very small. So basically it took you 2 hours to get from one side of Kabul to another side of Kabul. And my family is from Kabul too, and our entire family lives there too. So basically, how far we can run away, and how far and how many times we can relocate to a place, because this time somebody found out where I live, another time is someone else knows where I live. So basically, we were on a run in our own country, and we felt like an immigrant once again in our own country. And unfortunately, the situation got so bad that I couldn't even go to the Air Force anymore. I was missing out on my flights. I couldn't even go fly no more. And to the moment, I brought this to the US Embassy's attention. I told them I got denied for any type of protection I asked for. I told them I need security. They didn't give it to me. They told me, we didn't force you to be here. And that's when the U.S. Embassy got involved, and that's the moment to find a solution. So I get out of the Afghanistan, so the situation can come down for me and my family by the time I get done. So I was nominated to come here for a training to fly C-130. So I was here for October of 2015 until December of 2016.
And then you decided to come back
Well, I was
and seek
excited.
asylum.
Unfortunately, that's what happened. But I was more excited to hopefully, because I had still had my entire family in Afghanistan. My whole family was in Afghanistan. I literally took my life in a bag and came to the US for a training. And while I was in training, my family members, my mom, my dad, my sister, and my brother, they had to leave the country again because I was in the US in a training. They didn't want to stress me out.
They had to leave because
They were getting threats again from my immediate family. They were saying like my father hided me, so that's why like we are hiding from them, and nobody told them I was in the U.S. and so they were after my family. My father decided to leave the country, so he couldn't take it anymore. It went too far that he didn't even had anybody to go to. So they went to Pakistan and I was in here and I didn't even get a call from them. I would start getting nervous. I would start getting worried that why nobody's answering my calls. And I'm in training, my training is hard enough. And now I'm getting tapped with too stress of worrying about my family. I start bringing it up to my instructors like, I can't focus enough. I don't know if my family's alive. I don't know what happened to them. I don't have anybody else to reach out if they can find my family for me. And I still continued with my training. I still got through my training. I graduated it. And then when I heard from my dad, I was just surprised to hear from him. Like, where were you guys? I felt like you guys abandoned me. And that man never ever told me to give up on your dream. I remember when my brother got shot, he was in the hospital. And when I got the news that my brother's in the hospital, so I show up in the hospital and I'm like in tears. I told him, like, you are here because of me. So I'm done.
Who shot your brother?
To be honest, until nowadays, we never found out because nobody helped me to find out who these people were. Honestly, I don't understand. Like, if one thing they did that I felt like they were there for me, I would be so thankful for them for the rest of my life. But I get to them with my threats, like, help, please help, because I don't want to quit. I don't want to quit. I want to fly. I want to serve my country. I just need help. And then when that happened to my brother, I told him, this is how these people look like, And at least you guys can search. At least you guys can figure out, report it to the police department, find out who these people were. The whole case got closed. Nobody even wasted their time 2 minutes. And actually, that's when I got no answer from our own government. That's when the Wall Street Journal, she was actually, I met her in U.S. Embassy. She was very sweet. And I told her, like, this is what happened to my brother. She showed up, she came to our home, she saw my brother, and she wrote an article about my brother. That's what happened. And this is how the news got out. And I started getting some helps like, wow, this, she really needs help. She's losing her family members. And she helped me, she really helped me out. And she came, just to write that report, asking for help, visiting my brother. That was really, really nice of her. And yeah, so it never stopped. And I think that moment when I saw my brother in a hospital bed, I was so sad that I told him, I'm done. I'm not going to do it anymore. I quit, and I quit right now. I can't afford losing more just because of what I decided to do or just to make my dream possible. It felt so selfish. Honestly, I felt selfish that moment, that all these people are sacrificing just because they want to give me my dream. And that's when my dad told me, if you quit, you're not coming back to my home. You can't quit. So that's the part, like, when I heard from him after a long time, and I was so worried about them, what happened when I was done with my school, when he told me, you can't come back here, just never change, you will never be appreciated, and all you do is you're gonna just put us in the same circle that we've been doing, the same circle that we did for years. To be honest, I was speechless. I couldn't hear. I couldn't understand what they had to go through, that he tell me that enough is enough, because he felt so alone that he never even felt like he lived a life. When we were young, he had to pack his life in a backpack and go to Pakistan. And then when his family got older, when they decided to do something, he had to do the same thing. He was an immigrant again in his own country and never found a peace. And when I heard from him, it broke my heart, because I was just by myself and I had nowhere to go. I had no family member here. I had nobody to support me. I was in a total foreign country and I didn't know what to do with my life. It was it was a hard moment. Like, to be honest, I never we've been through a lot, but that loneliness hit me hard because I felt like I lost everything. I Everything that I admired, I felt like I lost it. I honestly didn't know what to do with my life.
So you were trained by Americans. You received everything that was required for you to become pilot. You went through all of it. You were flying. You did everything. You have decided to come into the United States and seek asylum. You, when you come to the United States as a tourist, you came to receive an award, or a tourist is totally different. But when you come here, decide and seek asylum and start a life, it's totally different reality, which we don't know unless you try. What happened?
Whew. There's stages in life, and I felt like when I left one stage of my life behind, I hope there's better ahead of me. I got crushed again. And then when I felt like there was something better is waiting for me, I have hope. Don't lose hope. Then there is, again, life's hit me hard. But yeah, unfortunately, when that happened, I was here, and as you mentioned, when you are here as a tourist visiting, it's totally different. When you actually want to live here, the life here is so different than the life back home. The rules, the laws, the culture, everything is so different. And I was just excited that, oh, I was trained with the US Air Force. I was trained with the US military. My certification, everything I got is, by them. And there would be no rejection. All I have to do is go to the FAA office and ask for a conversion, like if they can convert it to the US. And unfortunately, all those doors were closed on me. Everything I have done, all the hours and all the flying I have done back home, they were all counted to zero. So they basically told me I have to start all over again. I had to go back to this school. I have to start getting all my certificates and my rating to be able to fly in the US. And when I asked about my flying hours, they even told me you have to start from zero. So we can't even convert your flight hours.
So they were not recognizing anything.
Absolutely nothing. And whoever's pilot, they know building hours is the main painful part because the hours are giving you or taking you where your next step is. If you don't have enough hours, you can't get a certificate or a specific certificate, or you can't get hired with, a bigger companies. Unfortunately, that's what happened to me. And not only I lost what I have dreamed for, now I can't even fly. For me, by myself, having, had to start a life from zero basically. How could I think about going to school, spend hundreds and hundreds, thousands of dollars to get all my certificate again? It's not cheap. It's very expensive. Um, so I start doing interpretation job.
Because you had to live, you had to pay bills, so you had to
Mhm.
start doing something else.
So it was very difficult. So I had to do interpretation job, and like for the law enforcement, for courts, for hospitals, for insurance companies. By the time my sister came here too, my older sister, so it was two of us, and it was very difficult for sure.
Meanwhile, the other part of the family, they were in Afghanistan. What happened when United States decided to withdraw forces in 2021? Where was your family at the time?
So my entire family, my parents, one of my siblings, they were still in Afghanistan. When in 2021, the Kabul, Afghanistan basically collapsed, my parents were like eating breakfast and they get a call from my brother-in-law that the Taliban's are all over the city. Are you guys aware of this? My father could not believe that. And to the moment that they turned the TV on and there's Taliban all over the city, which was unbelievable. In a blink of eyes, everybody went to sleep, wake up, Kabul was handed to the Taliban. That's basically what had happened. The president of Afghanistan abandoned the people. He flew out of Kabul a night before because he knew this is happening. All the soldiers were told to drop their guns because they didn't want to fight. They basically wanted to hand the country to the Taliban with no fighting. That's exactly what happened. And I've myself saw videos that those soldiers are crying that I will fight. Like, I will fight. I will to the last breath I have. And their commanders are telling them to drop your guns. So they basically handed the country to the Taliban. And the 20 years of everything that they have done, all these men and women that they lost their life just to bring this freedom, now they are replacing the Taliban with the Taliban. I could not believe it. Honestly, it was like a nightmare.
What happened to your family?
So my family was in Kabul. They were shocked of this news, and they couldn't stay there for 2 seconds. Especially my parents were still in Kabul. All they did is just put something in their backpack, just a backpack, because they didn't even know if they can carry a bag with them. I'm sure everybody saw what was going on the airport's gates.
Yeah.
How many people were like just trying to find a safety. That's how terrified they were. That's how terrified those people are from the Taliban and the rules and laws that they could bring, because they took over. So my parents, they just closed, literally shut the door, and they both just left with just one backpack. They just left again. They had a hard time to get through the gates because the Taliban would ask for the ID and stuff. And my father was afraid to show an ID because he didn't know if anybody reported them already.
Mhm.
So he spent the night on a friend house, just just have to not go through that security gate because their security points would change. And the next day, they tried to get to the gate. So it took 2 days to find them. Just getting from home to the airport, it felt like 2 weeks. I locked myself. I was here, and I locked myself in a room, and I was on the phone with whoever people I knew. And again, I'm so thankful for those people that they were on the ground in Afghanistan, and I reached out to them. And I told one of my she's my best friends, like one of my great friends. I reached out to her. She was working for U.S. Air Force, and she was a major. I reached out to her and I said, I don't even know who is on the ground. My parents are trying to get in the gate, and I don't know how to help them. And she tried her best. She reached out to anybody on the ground she could. I tried to reach out to the State Department. I was on the phone day and night to just find somebody to help my family get in the gate. And during that time, my parents, with my sister, she had a 2 years old daughter with her husband. They are behind those gates that they have seen all kind of things. Literally, the Taliban's were shooting children in front of American soldiers to just prove, look, well, you guys can't do anything. We can do anything right now. You cannot even touch us. That's what they were doing. They saw children's dead. They saw they saw so many horrible situations that when my mom got to the camp in America, she had nightmares for days and months, and she would wake up screaming. The Taliban would literally shoot people just to prove they are in charge and Americans can't do anything. And luckily, my parents, after 2 days, they got in the gate. Once they get inside the gate, that's when I was like, thank God. Like, thank God. At least they are there. And then the next day, they flew out from Kabul to Dubai. They were in Dubai for a couple of days. And then from Dubai, they flew them to the US. But it's easy to just, talk about it. But whatever they had to go through, whatever those people had to go through, only they know what they went through. Only they know what they have seen, and they only know what the Taliban's are capable of doing. They literally shoot their own people to just prove they are in charge and they can do anything.
You are now united, the whole family in the United States. You mentioned that you have to go all over to get the license for the pilot. Are you living your dream now? What are you doing right now?
You know, all I can say is believe in yourself and find the happiness within yourself. And I felt like that's what I did. And if you really want something so bad, you should never take the no for an answer. And it might be hard, it's like a sky. When there's a thunder, when there's lightning, as I mentioned, it lasts for hours, maybe for a day. And then the sky clears. And then it's the same beauty. And the same thing, the past is past. The reason that I read this somewhere, I was like, this is so smart. The windshield in your vehicle is much bigger than the rear windows, right? Because what's in front of you is much more important than what's behind you. And I felt like what I had to go through made me who I am, made me see the world in a different pictures, see the world in a different view, that the reason behind our existence in this world is so much greater than what we think it is. The life is given to us just once. Why don't you just live it the best way you can? And I don't want to have regrets in life. I do want to live a life that I want to live. And I don't regret, sometimes when I even talk about my past, I don't believe that's the reality we all had to go through, because it's so painful that sometimes when you get in a very, very comfort zone, you almost forget what you had to go through to be who you are and appreciate everything you have. And when the life gets so easy, we start regretting, oh, I don't have this, or taking things for granted. And when I circle back or flip my book backward and start reading it, and I'm like, you cannot take anything for granted in life. You should be hopeful, even do more, and at least be a voice for those that they don't have a voice. Because sometimes it doesn't always take, war or to change something. Sometimes a voice, a word can change somebody's life. And I felt like for those people that they think that's just a dream and it cannot happen, it's just a dream. I'm just an immigrant. I have to start from this. I never can be what an American child can have. No, that's not true. You can have more because you know how it feels when you don't have it. When you have it, when you have that opportunity, you have to actually fight for it more because you understand the value of that thing. And I felt like that's how I start seeing the world. That's how I felt like everything happens for a reason, and every step of our life is a test. And if you pass that test, of course, you get to the next step. And for me, I don't regret anything because the end, I'm so lucky to be united back to with my family. I'm so lucky to, I I always say the troubles in life that caused or suffering in my life, it was caused by men. But let's not forget all the happiness in life that I have achieved, it's because of the three men in my life. I had my father when I was young till I grew up, that he been just like this strong mountain behind me. I had my brother that supported me, like so many brothers in Afghanistan. All I do is silence their sisters. That they have to be silenced, they have to do and obey what their fathers are telling them. And I have my husband that he been very supportive. And I'm so thankful for these three men in my life that, they always supported me. And I never felt I never felt like I was less than them. My father always told me, you're a human being, fight for what's your right. The same thing, my husband, he never tells me I'm less than him. He's like, you're my equal and you do what you want in life. You are like that free bird that you are free to go as far as you want to go. But at the end, I know you always come back to me. And that's so sweet. And that's how I like to see it, when you keep somebody in the cage, that doesn't last so
And
long.
where is this bird flying right now? What is
So I'm actually living my dream. So I went back to school, got all my rating, even though if it was tough. I start everything from zero. I start being a student again to the point I got my flight instructor license. So my plan was to teach and build more hours based on that, build more experience, fly in the US. And the same thing, just to be able to teach someone else how to fly, how great is that? Because that was me one day, that all I wanted to do or have is a female instructor to teach me, which I never had any female instructor. And, there's always this moment that there's an angel land in our life that we don't even know where. Not always, God's blessing is not always in a format of it has to be a prophet talk to you or it has to be something magic happens. God can bring those angels into your life in a format of human. And I feel like that's what happened to me. That changed my life when I got to meet the chief of staff of the Air Force. We were nominated for an award in Staff College, and I was the guest speaker to speak there. And after I spoke, he was, I would say, he was an angel in our life that united me with my brother. So he brought my brother and his family and my sister in a matter of a couple months to the U.S. And another great part is that I don't know if you're aware of the earthquake happened in Turkey.
Yeah.
They got out a day before the earthquake happened, and that was
It
the
was a
same
massive
city.
earthquake, yeah.
So that's something that I can't even believe. Like God puts you for a test, and then when he wants to reward you, reward you with something great. And I feel like he rewarded us with so many blessings in life that I can't even regret, of everything we had to go through. Um, so yeah.
And right now, what are you flying?
Right now, I fly for it's a corporate private business jet. And so after I got done with the school, I got to meet this wonderful man. He's just an amazing man. He heard my story and he's like, I don't care what FA did. You can come fly for me and build your experience, fly in the US and get to fly this amazing jet as well. And it was just like a dream come true for me, especially when you realize not all the humanity is gone. When you see there's still great humans exist in this world, that they just want to help because they want to help, not for recognition, not for award or prize. They just have a kind heart that they want to help. And he's just amazing. He help out for cancer children all the time. He donates so much money for them. And, he believes no child has to die when they never experienced a life at that age out of cancer. So I felt like that was another angel that helped me out. And that's exactly what happened.
We know words, courage and strength, but you are a symbol of all of that. And here is the book for all our viewers, which they can purchase it on Amazon. And these are all the details of your life we've been through. We have to sit here for hours to bring everything what you have written in this book. Personally, I am very honored to have you
Thank
as a
you.
friend, and especially now what millions of girls and women are going through in Afghanistan. Your voice need to be heard, and you are an inspiration. Your voice need to be heard also in Western country, but also to the girls in Afghanistan who are looking towards West and hoping for help. I thank you from the bottom of my heart, and I am very, very honored to have you as the first guest of my podcast. And you are the reason, as all other women, strength and courageous to start this podcast and spread the word and tell the whole world that how amazing women we have.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.